Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Anupma, Professor at Department of Economics, Punjabi University, Patiala. I am here talking on behalf of Dr. Falinder Kumar Sudan, Professor, Department of Economics, University of Jammu. I am going to talk about the module Population and Water Scarcity from Demography of Climate Adaptation. So students, we are going to discuss about the causes and consequences of water scarcity. We will also discuss how sustainable patterns of water use can be achieved. The world population growth is slowing more dramatically than previously believed. This appears to be very pleasant. The global environment, in contrast, is increasingly pessimistic. According to the UN Medium Variant projection, there will be 450 million fewer people in the world by 2050 than those projected in 1994. A rise in mortality rate is also important in some regions. The most important factor responsible for slowing down the population growth is a decline in fertility rate beyond the previous expectations. What are the implications of declining population for renewable freshwater resources is an important question. If same amount of fresh water are shared by more people, per capita availability of water would be less. For example, Canada and China possess same amount of renewable fresh water and the same land area. But population in China is more than 40 times larger than that of Canada. This indicates that each person in China has less than 3% of fresh water available to each of the Canadians. The higher living standards also influence the demand for fresh water through increases in a nation's rate of water consumption. The higher population size is also the most important factor influencing freshwater availability. The world population is still growing and will continue to increase for some time. The slow population growth implies less water scarcity in future than previously anticipated. The slowing population growth will help countries to have more fresh water for good health, irrigation, and economic development. So, with this background, this module aims to answer the questions: what are the causes and consequences of water scarcity? What is the significance of slowing population growth? What are the implications of declining population on water resources? How are water stress and scarcity measured? How to achieve population stability for sustainable pattern of global water use. Let us discuss how we measure water stress and scarcity. It is useful to review the criteria for measuring the relationship between population growth and water availability. Malin Falkenmark, a Swedish hydrologist, originated the idea of water stress index. It is based on an approximate minimum level of water needed per capita to sustain an adequate quality of life in a moderately developed country. Falkenmark has used existing hydrological principles and benchmarks to estimate the index. She estimated that 100 liters of water per person per day is the approximate minimum needed for basic household needs such as drinking, bathing, and cooking. It was also estimated that 5 to 20 times more water is required for agricultural, industrial, and energy production sectors. On the basis of these calculations, she derived benchmarks for water stress and water scarcity. A country with more than 1700 cubic meters of renewable fresh water per person per year will face only intermittent or localized water shortages. However, if the amount of fresh water availability falls below this level, the country will face water stress. This implies that problem of water supply is likely to become chronic and widespread. A stress indicator serves as a kind of caution to countries falling below the benchmark. This indicates that population growth is reducing the amount of water available per person to the troublesome levels. If the supply of renewable water falls below 1000 cubic meters per person, water scarcity begins to arise. The chronic water shortages for most countries in this category can impede economic development and cause serious environmental degradation. Changing population and renewable water supplies. By the middle of 21st century, the number of people living in water-stressed or scarce countries could grow to at least 3.5 billion. This will be more than tenfold the number in 1990. In this estimation, the most optimistic of the UN population projections, the low variant was used. However, under the high variant, it is projected that the number of people living in water-stressed or scarce countries will be 7 billion by 2050. This will be nearly two-thirds of the world planet's total projected population of 11.2 billion. The most recent estimates of water stress and scarcity for 161 countries indicate that with lower population growth in many countries, the future of water availability looks brighter. According to UN low projection, the number of people living in countries experiencing water stress or water scarcity will be actually less than 2 billion in 2050, and this will be 1.5 billion lower than the figure projected in 1995. This can be observed from figure 3. Even under the medium variant, new population projection reveals that approximately 400 million less people will be living in water-stressed or scarce countries in 2050 than was predicted in 1994. It is interesting to know the impact of population growth on water resources at the country level. The impact of population growth on water resources is more evident at the country level. For instance, Sri Lanka and El Salvador would fall below the water stress benchmark respectively by 2030 and 2040. However, due to slower population growth, these countries' transition into conditions of water stress will be postponed by at least 10 years. This can be observed from figure 2 and figure 3. The delayed transitions can help the countries facing water shortages to develop their existing water resources, improve the efficiency of water usage pattern, and implement water conservation programs. Based on new population projections, Thailand, Iraq, North Korea, will avoid crossing the stress benchmark by 2050 with a combined total population of 200 million. It has also been noted that as a result of the slower population growth rates reflected in the newest UN projections, Sri Lanka and El Salvador are now projected to cross the water stress benchmarks full decade later than the earlier 1994 projections had indicated. The effects of slower population growth on water resources can be remarkable in countries with already sizable populations. For example, India with over 1 billion population was projected to start facing water stress by 2015 and will remain water stressed up to 2050. However, according to new UN projections, India will not cross the water stress benchmark by 2035. If total fertility in India falls according to low projection, then by 2050, its population can begin to decline. This can bring India back out of water stress within a decade. For this, we can look at figure 4. Based on UN 1996 low population projection, India will cross the water stress benchmark by 2035 and then return to a state of relative water sufficiency by 2045 due to declining population growth. Thus, there are both the possibilities of conflict between population and water availability and also the opportunity for cooperation inbuilt in the relationship between population growth and renewable fresh water. It has been noted that a sharp rise in the number of people experiencing water stress between 2030 and 2035 is caused by India crossing the water stress benchmark due to its growing population. The sharp decline in the population experiencing water stress between 2040 and 2045 is a result of India's escaping water stress by slowing its population growth. There have been water disputes between India and Bangladesh over the rights to water from the Ganges River. Ganges River, before reaching Bangladesh, flows through Nepal and India. More than 500 million people in India depend on this river for drinking, irrigation, fishing, navigation, washing, and even worship. This river is also important for more than 40 million Bangladeshis for irrigating their wheat and rice crops. However, after almost 50 years, it got the right to take required amount of water from the river to meet the demand of its rapidly growing population. India signed a 30-year river water agreement with Bangladesh in 1996. This agreement will provide both countries with a guaranteed flow of water from this river. This agreement appears as a promising example to water conflicts. Even countries with rapidly increasing population can negotiate how to share their limited freshwater supplies. Such cooperation will be needed in regions such as Africa, the Middle East, and parts of Asia, where population growth will continue to put pressure on available freshwater resources in the 21st century. Now we can discuss about the impacts of water scarcity. The new 1996 UN population data paints a more encouraging population projection. The problem of water scarcity will get worse before it gets better. Currently, 166 million people in 18 countries are experiencing water scarcity. Approximately 270 million more in 11 additional countries are considered water stressed. This can be observed from figure 5. The proportion of the world's population experiencing water stress and scarcity will increase more than 5 times by 2050. This estimation is based on the UN 1996 medium projection. The lack of adequate supplies of renewable fresh water could turn out to be a major constraint on economic development. In several water-scarce countries in northern and southern Africa, this situation has already taken place. In these countries, population growth rates remain high. High population growth continuously put increased pressure on limited water resources to meet the growing demand for food production. In fact, Africa is projected to cross the water scarcity benchmark within the next 10 years. With this, more than 100 million people would be added to those already coping with severe water shortages. The cost of producing and delivering fresh water needed to just keep pace with current levels of services in these and many other countries will grow enormously due to increasing water scarcity. This will lead to the drain of financial resources that would otherwise be available for investment in the development of other sectors of the economy. According to UN projection, between now and 2050, more than 90% of population growth will occur in developing countries. With this projection, the demand placed by these countries on freshwater resources will make sustainable economic development more and more difficult. The cases of regional water stress provide some indication of the gravity and degree of the rising competition for water resources between countries. Similarly, we can have a look at water stress in Southern Africa. In the Southern Africa, the pressure on renewable water resources is very high. There is a dispute between Namibia and Botswana over use of the Okavango River. Namibia seems to have a relatively abundant freshwater supply per capita. But Namibia is the driest country in the region. This is due to the fact that nearly 83% of all its rain evaporates soon after it falls, and only 1% of what remains is available to recharge groundwater aquifers. Besides, there is no perennial river in Namibia. It has only seasonal flowing rivers. In the past, this did not create a problem as the rural population would simply move to other sources of water during the dry season. But this migratory lifestyle has now hampered due to rapid population growth and more densely populated human settlements. In order to meet the needs of its growing population, Namibia in recent years tested a variety of water supply options, including desalination and pumping groundwater from its fossil aquifers. But the cost involved in the large-scale desalination is very high. The desalination plants require enormous amount of energy. The desalination also generates pollution that is excessive relative to the volumes of fresh water produced. Overpumping of groundwater has already led to increase in salinity, as well as the rapid depletion of the aquifers themselves. All this led Namibia to launch a planning process which aimed at extending its already massive network of supply pipelines to the Okavango River, which runs throughout the year along its northeastern border with Angola. With this, an estimated 20 million cubic meters of water would be diverted from the river through the 155 miles pipeline. But the problem is that the river flows into Botswana. In Botswana, Okavango feeds the largest delta and one of the most delicate ecosystems in the world. Nearly 1 lakh people who live along the edges of Okavango Delta depend on it for survival. The water needs in Namibia is expected to double within the next 20 years. In order to keep pace with the increased water demands of its growing urban centers, Namibia considers the pipeline as the only feasible solution. On the other hand, Botswana contends that the diversion could damage the biologically diverse marshlands along the Okavango Delta. This is the main tourist spot in Botswana and dry up the floodplain along which most of the delta's inhabitants live. Namibia's capital, Windhoek, is already facing severe water scarcity. Thus, there is an urgent need for negotiation between both governments to arrive at long-term solution to the problem. It is also interesting to look at the water stress in Euphrates Basin. The demand for water of Euphrates River by Turkey, Syria, and Iraq is growing. Euphrates River rises from Turkey and flows south through Syria and Iraq into the Persian Gulf. It is the primary source of water for millions of people. Large population depends on it for power generation and irrigation in an extremely arid climate. Over the last few decades, these countries are in dispute over the use of Euphrates water. In recent years, this dispute has been intensified due to building of massive Turkish dam called Greater Anatolia Project or GAP. GAP is one of the most massive water infrastructure projects. It is designed to provide a supply of water and power adequate to meet the development needs of Turkey's population, growing at 1.6% per annum. GAP will provide Turkey with 7,500 megawatts of electricity and will irrigate 1.5 million hectares of land, benefiting 7 million Turks. However, Syria and Iraq are worried about the project's impact on their water supplies. GAP could lead to 40% reduction of the Euphrates flow into Syria and an 80% reduction of flow into Iraq. Syria's Tabqa dam would lose 12% of power generation capacity. Iraq would lose irrigation water to 20% of its total arable land. GAP project will increase the level of salinity and agricultural and industrial pollution in the remaining waters in Syria and Iraq. Syria and Iraq have threatened war over their access to Euphrates. This calls for urgency of regional water sharing agreement to address the conflict. The population is also expanding in these nations due to high fertility rates. As a result, the competition between agriculture and development for water fresh could aggravate increased instability in the region. Now let us look at water stress in the Nile River Basin. The Nile River Basin in northeastern Africa is a vivid example of the interaction of population growth, water scarcity, and international conflict. The Nile Basin comprises 10 countries with 40% of Africa's population and 10% of its land mass. Nearly 85% of the Nile's water come from the Blue Nile originating in Ethiopia. About 85 billion cubic meters of the Nile River is used by Egypt per year. The Nile provides all the fresh water to 60 million Egyptians. The rapid population growth and economic development worried Egypt about the Nile's waters. The Nile's water is used for economic prosperity for their growing population. Ethiopia has also entered into a period of accelerated growth and economic development. This country will use nearly 500 million cubic meters of the Nile's flow annually. Additional dams are being planned to increase irrigation and hydropower capacity. The current development needs of Ethiopia need only a small portion of the Nile's water. However, its potential future water demands could reduce the river's flow significantly into Egypt. In Ethiopia, there is an estimated 3.7 million hectares of land, an area larger than Belgium, that could be irrigated. Ethiopia has population size equal to Egypt. A rapid annual rate of population growth will require developing a large portion of land for agricultural use. To use Nile water to irrigate only half of agricultural land, the river's flow to Egypt is likely to reduce by 15%. It is doubtful that the Nile basin produces enough renewable fresh water to satisfy the irrigation plans of both Ethiopia and Egypt. Egypt is raising the stakes with ambitious development plans. Egypt has launched a massive irrigation project in Western Desert. Sudan also plans to build its own dam on the Nile north of capital Khartoum. Only a small portion of Nile's water is currently used by remaining Nile Basin countries. Total population of the Nile Basin countries is more than 140 million and projected to more than 340 million by 2025. With accelerated populations, these countries will also claim a larger share of the Nile's flow to meet their growing irrigation and development needs. Egypt has also identified upstream development of the Nile's water as a potential national security threat. Egypt has threatened to go for a war to preserve its access to fresh water. Therefore, there is a need to understand the dynamics of population-water relationship by the governments in the Nile Basin. There is growing interest in the region's water issues. The political and economic concerns will complicate the challenge of reconciling competing claims on the Nile. Thus, there is a large scope for water conservation and international cooperation in the region. Now let us look at the lessons of water scarcity benchmarks. The water scarcity benchmarks are not intended to explain Malthusian limits to population growth. There are strict natural thresholds which govern interactions between population and environment. These benchmarks can be helpful in predicting urgency of problems associated with availability of fresh water in future. In addition, they can also assist in understanding how true natural thresholds related to population-environment interactions might operate. So students, let us sum up what we have learned from this module. To sum up, we can say that the recent changes in projected population growth illustrate that population projections can change from the worse or for the better depending on the factors that influence them. Even small changes in population growth rates over time can have significant impact on amount of renewable fresh water available. These scenarios have been explained by the difference between 1994 and 1996 UN projections. The population growth does not slow on its own. It results from the desires of millions of women and men to have fewer children. The government's policies and other institutions have also played their role in moderating population growth rates. Therefore, the robust population policies and institutions have their role to promote the transition to a stable population size. These efforts on continuous basis can delay the onset of water stress and scarcity in many countries and ensure freshwater resources for generations on sustainable basis. That's all with this lecture. I hope you must have enjoyed it. Thank you.